Hi guys, this is C3UG again. Today we're focusing on the upcoming launch of Notes and Domino 10. There's been a lot of discussion in the media, a lot of discussion on blogs and forums and what have you, and IBM's like been crazy of talking about the product they've probably not been talking about a long time ago. So today we will try to tell you a little bit of what's coming pretty soon, and a couple of the most important features and functions that we are really looking forward to. And this is not only me, this is a couple of other guys. So guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hello everyone, I'm Colin with Castlebrec Inc., IBM business partner in Ontario, Canada.
And I'm Graham Akers, Britech Systems business partner in Vancouver. So we've got three different segments or categories, if you will, that we want to share a little bit about. Here's Heiko to introduce the first one.
Yeah, so the first one actually will be about the all-beloved Notes client that we all love and hate, whatever you call it. But there's a couple of things that have been done on this, and we just want to give you a quick highlights overview. And one thing that you see already here is a lot of people asked about this is how can I change the background of my workspace where I have all my chiclets sitting on right in front of me, and now you can do this in Notes 10. But personally, one feature that I like that I've been waiting for a very long time is a team calendar, right? And now we have a team calendar, a basic team calendar right out of the box that you can just set up on your server as a mail-in database. And if you just create a new meeting here in my own calendar, I can invite it, of course. So I'll just check this team calendar as a required member of this meeting. Yeah, don't care. I'll just do it anyways. So this will show up in my calendar here, and if I move on to the team calendar here and I refresh my view here, this shows up in the team calendar. Now in my own calendar, I will have to configure this as a calendar overlay, and so I can see all the meetings that happen into my teams. I can color code them. I can do a lot of things with them. So pretty nice little feature that has been lacking in Notes for a couple of years. It's coming now. Another nice thing that I personally like is, for example, if you write an email and you just want to do like get bored of your default fonts that you have in your message, and you just want to reformat this, and this has been a pain in the butt because you always had to know which is the font that I'm actually looking for and how does it look like. Now we got that what everybody else in the Windows world already has for a couple of or for decades. We have font preview here. Cool stuff, eh? So this is only a small glimpse of what's coming in the Notes client. But hey, Graham, what else do we got?
Yeah, I got a couple of things that I quite like, and I'm looking forward to playing around with. One that, going back to what Heiko was saying about people with other platforms having for years is scheduled delivery. So that's something that's coming in Notes 10 where, as far as mail is concerned, you can schedule it to bulk up overnight or what have you. Those settings are in the Notes client. And then a couple of other things back to Heiko's demo of the calendar, allowing meeting attendees to invite others, which I think is really fantastic. Something that I certainly have run into numerous times over the years, so I'm glad that IBM's got that one figured out. And being able to delegate meetings too. That functionality is well, something that we all know and love and from other tools, and so we're looking forward to that. And finally, again, just on our quick hit list here, interoperability with Outlook. I've got a customer that has numerous executive level meetings that they're booking with external parties that use Outlook, and running into all kinds of challenges in terms of having repeating meetings set up properly and stuff like that. So when I read that one, that was one of the first things that I decided I wanted to test, and I'm looking forward to. Colin, over to you.
Absolutely. Well, couple really big ones that people are excited about in the community is Domino apps on iPad. So taking your Notes client applications and running them without a rewrite, no less, on iPads. Planned for later is Android and phones. They'll be working with the form factor to make it lay out smoothly on phones. Another one is auto upgrades. So a user can delay an upgrade of the client, or the admin can force the upgrade, and that'll make upgrades as easy as possible.
Good stuff. I mean, from that perspective, if you look at all this, so there's lots of stuff coming in the Nodes client, and I think what makes all of this possible is the focus that IBM and HCL have been putting on the Domino server. There's lots of stuff that's been around for a while in the cloud that's now making its way to the on-prem Domino server, and we all are really well curious about to see and while we're testing. Oh, by the way, we all refer to this, to all of the things that we're in testing, refer to the actual public Domino 10 beta 2, which you can still register for. And maybe you should do that. We could post a link to that by the end of this video or in the YouTube channel so you can actively participate, because from what I heard just yesterday is that these registrations will bring you into a permanent loop of being a beta tester. So IBM and HCL are not stopping with this beta on Domino 10. Everybody who's enrolled for this beta is automatically enrolled for all the other major releases or minor releases that show up in the beta stream. So that might be something worthwhile to look for you guys as well.
That's cool. I actually hadn't heard that. Okay, let's move on with our conversation here. So our next segment is on the Domino server, just some highlights of things that we're paying attention to on the Domino server. And I really think that, going back to much earlier releases or the release cycle that IBM managed, there tended to be a release that was more focused on the Domino server and then a release that was more focused on the Notes client. And while there's lots of stuff all over the place in this one, I think that there's been a really hefty investment on the Domino server and some stuff that behind the scenes people may not necessarily even realize are going on, but there's some huge investment in total cost of ownership and making the Domino server much more efficient. So from that perspective, a couple of things that I've noticed in the testing and the conversations that I've been part of, just in terms of both clustering and like an individual Domino server, indexing, so recognizing view indexes and updating them on the fly, fixing them on the fly. So there's a whole self-diagnostic feature on the Domino server that I think people are going to be really happy with. One of the other things that's really cool is deletions, logging deletions. So, we all know that in the past, you say to your users, you delete something and it's gone. There's no way to get it back, which technically is still true, except that now we'll know who deleted it, when they deleted it, what document was deleted, and a certain amount of the document contents. I haven't actually seen the full level of detail on this, but I understand that when you delete a document, it actually, the details of that document get written into a log somewhere. So if you really do need to recover it, there is at least the potential, I guess we'll see, to recover it. And a couple of other things, dead mail processing. So I think administrators are all well aware of being able to go into mail.box and just seeing a long list of messages that are actually dead. You can now go into a configuration setting on the Domino server and say that, how often you want dead mail to be processed, how you want dead mail to be processed. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. And the last thing that I thought was really quite interesting is that they've actually invested in publishing Domino statistics. So there's always been statistics that you could collect into a Notes database in the Domino server. Now you're actually able to publish that information to an external server. So basically, I don't know whether it's REST API or how it works, but I've seen a demo of it where there's currently a service that you can publish your Domino statistics to, but also partners are in a position to be able to write tools that can publish Domino statistics. So you can, basically build your own dashboard outside of the Notes client if you want, to integrate with other tools that you're using for Domino health checks. So those are some tools that I'm looking forward to playing with as well. Colin, you've got some other stuff that you've been watching.
Absolutely. So a couple of new things also on the Domino server side around security is there's a new SSL cipher configs. That's certainly welcome, as well as SAML federated identity provider configuration enhancements. And those are a couple things that the community's wanted, and in particular, making the SAML a little bit easier is something that people are pretty excited about.
Absolutely. I mean, it is, and getting things done easier and quicker and less error prone is always welcome, I guess. Same goes for some other stuff that's on the list for the Domino server, which is the new ODS version, so the database version that's coming out, ODS 53 is upon us. And one of the biggest changes we have here is it supports larger databases and much more folders and stuff, and namespace tables have been extended, and you name it. But probably the biggest removal of limitations is the limit of a 64 gigabyte size of a database, which is up through until 901. With version 10, we will move this limit up to 256 gigabytes, which is, I think, a decent amount of size for a single nodes database to really work with. Another thing that, and I have a couple of customers actually that are hitting the fan pretty much every week with the 64 gig limit right now. So they're pretty happy, and they're really eager to get their hands on Domino 10 as soon as they can. Another big thing that's been around for a while is Docker container support. If you're up and about, out and about in the community for a while, there has been a couple of blog entries that tell you exactly how you can configure a 901 infrastructure server already for Docker, but it's a pretty cumbersome and manual process. So you have to do it basically on your own and do a lot of configuration on your own. The good news now is that I don't know the exact time frame for that, whether it will be available at the launch or or sometime afterwards. But we can look forward to pre-configured Docker containers that can be downloaded from the Docker warehouse, from the Docker catalog, so to speak. So we don't have to do all the configuration for a Domino server on ourselves, and we will be pre-configured Docker containers for us. So this is, I think, is a great thing for infrastructure projects, and especially for development purposes and all sorts of things. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. So I think this concludes the rough overview of the Domino space that we wanted to cover. Let's move on to development, and I think, Colin, that's you now.
Absolutely. On the development front, we all know development's changed a whole lot, and alongside it, architectures have changed a whole lot. And what's happened a lot is the Domino community has embraced these new architectures, and in Domino 10, the product itself is set up to be really amenable to that. So we've got some great new features that people are really excited about that embrace these new architectures and bear more similarities to the open development community. So the first one that people are really fired up about is Domino Query Language. So much like if people are familiar with document-oriented databases where you can create a query programmatically or by looking one up, send it to the database and get a result back in JSON format. This means you don't have to do view lookups and whatnot and write imperative code to loop through things. You can fire a query and get a result. And it actually takes advantage of the views that are in the database so to optimize it, and it is performant. So that's something that'll be available in Java and Lotus script and later in the Node packages. On that front, Heiko, I think you want to talk about those two things.
Right. So JavaScript, Node.js, JavaScript, server-side JavaScript development is a big thing currently in the web development area. If you look at all the new frameworks that are popping up, if you look at things like React, Vue, or what have you, they all utilize server-side JavaScript to work for development and also for their runtime components. The good news is that we don't know exactly the time frame about this, but pretty soon we will have a Node module available to connect to your Node's databases and Domino databases on your Domino server from Node itself. So we will have an interface that's allows us to use the Domino backend with all the features and functions that you know and love from your Domino database, security concepts included and stuff like that, of course, and to use this as, say, a Domino DB in the backend. This will open up, from my perspective, is a really great thing, great move forward in the development area to leave the development patterns that we know so far, be it Java, Lotus script, X pages behind, and move into a new area where we can open up the Domino infrastructure to a whole new developer community. And I think that's a great story that will be with this tool set, will be part of the larger web development group that's currently out and about. The good thing about this is if you want to play with this around a little bit, you can already do this today. There's a couple of things out there that you can already get your feet wet with these tool sets. So if you want to play around with it, with development environments, IDEs like Microsoft Visual Studio Code, if you want to get your feet wet as a Domino developer with Node.js and get some connections into your Domino environment, there's an open source project out there that you can leverage, which is from our good C3UG friend Maureen Leland. She posted this on GitHub, and this basically is a Strongloop adapter. Strongloop is an API. A REST API creation tool, so to speak, that works with data sources in the backend. And Maureen has built a connector to Domino for that. So we can easily build, for example, our own REST APIs against the Domino database. And her example here are coffee shops. And this is, for example, set up against this application on my Domino server. You see a couple of coffee shops here. And if I use the API right here, I get exactly the same data back that you see down here. So that's basically one of the cool things here. You can also it supports all the CRUD operations in here. Sorry about this, guys. You can, for example, also create a new one. Let's put that one in here. I remove this and say I want to create, for example, a coffee that's called, it's a nice little restaurant in Halifax, the Stubborn Goat. And let's bring that in. There we go. And all of this runs on top of Node.js. So this is running on a Node.js server on my local machine. So the API does that. Here we got the code. Okay, I did something wrong. What did I do? Yeah, there's a comma too much. That's again. And here we go. And if I look in the database right now, refresh the view, there we have the Stubborn Goat. So we can also remove stuff in and out there. So jiggling around with all these new fancy stuff, REST APIs against the Domino server, connect the database to it, get your feet wet with JavaScript on the server side. That's all doable right now. We'll post the links down in the video as well. So until the wait time is there until we get this new module from HCL and IBM. But if you want to use this wait time productive, there's ways out to get there and to get you started right away. And probably we will talk about this maybe more in another video in more details later on down the road. So
Excellent.
That covers basically the development part. Graham, back to you.
One thing that's noteworthy on Dev is that there's the application development pack. I mean, I not have the name exactly right, but that's how this is being released. So it's not going to be too far on the heels of the Domino 10 release.
Right. So in the interest of time, we're gonna wrap it up here. But when we were doing our research for this, our list was over. I think it was pushing 70 different features and things that were being added. So we certainly don't want to make it sound like this is all that's coming in Domino. There's lots of stuff that's going to be, we're going to be able to get our hands on. One of the things that I wanted to mention too, and this has been out there, but I want to kind of back it up because I've used it myself a little bit and I quite like it. IBM and HCL have put together an idea sharing site where they're asking for people to give their feedback on feature recommendations, things that we've been waiting for a long time, new ideas and things to add. And the neat thing about it, you know, when it first came out, there was some complaints that it wasn't using an IBM tool. But what we didn't know at the time was that there was full integration into the development lifecycle in the back end. So they're actually able to take our ideas that we post publicly and pull them straight in. I've actually received emails for items that I've voted on that say that, you know, the idea is moving from something that was proposed to something that they're considering to something that they're actually building. So it's kind of a funky name, but I call it the AHA site. The URL is domino.ideas.aha.io, and we'll put that in the video notes as well. But I encourage you to go out. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, go out and have a look at it. It's really, really interesting to see. In fact, I was at a session with HCL in the summertime where one of the proposed ideas on the board was to make the properties box in the Notes client expandable so that you could make it larger and get more information up on the screen. And I'm literally standing right next to an HCL developer that said, ooh, that's some old code. And sure enough, it shows up in the AHA site, and it's one of the top voted things from all of the people that around the world. I thought that was awesome. Anyways, let's wrap it up. We'll say thank you. So this is our pre-video. We're going to do a post-video after the launch happens, next week. And we'll be involved in looking forward to all of the things that IBM and HCL make available to us. So we'll say goodbye for now, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye now.